Hello and welcome to Mining Stock Daily with me, Paul Harris. Today we're talking about copper and copper in Colombia, where I'm based, and I'm joined by Sarah Armstrong, President and CEO of Cordoba Minerals. Good afternoon, Sarah.
Good afternoon, Paul. How are you?
I am very well, thank you. And I imagine you're very well as well. You've just put out a pre-feasibility study on the Alacran deposit at your San Mateus project here in Cordoba in Colombia.
Yes, we were very happy with this. We just announced yesterday, and it was a really big accomplishment for us, given the pandemic over the last couple of years. We had 2 years to do this study and only 9 months of access. So it really was a great accomplishment by all of our team.
Okay, congratulations there. Let's look at some of
Thank
the
you.
numbers. You're looking at
Sure.
a sort of 22,000 ton a day open pit operation that
Yeah.
will produce an average of about 31,200 tons of copper, 55,000 ounces a year of gold, and 386,000 ounces a year of silver over a 13-year mine life following a initial capital expenditure of $435 million. Some pretty good numbers there.
Yeah, and actually, Paul, I think we're one of the unique projects that where our resource will grow between pre-feasibility and feasibility studies. I was alluded to before with our access issues. We weren't able to do all of the drilling that we wanted to do. So, and one of the main differences, I guess, between the preliminary economic assessment study and the pre-feasibility study is that the PEA included the satellite pits. And because of timing and access, we just simply could not include those 3 satellite pits in the PFS. So there is only more upside. There is all the possibility and probability that our resource will grow and our grade will be improved. So hopefully our grade is improved over a longer time period, and that life of mine can be extended. So that's sort of where we're going next, is to move on from that those pre-feasibility numbers, and moving into doing further study for further trade-offs, further trade-off studies, and moving into that infill and resource drilling for the feasibility study.
Okay, so those three deposits you mentioned are Montiel East, Montiel West, and Costa Azul. So as you can get to those and to drill those, will the next step be an updated PFS, or will you save those for an eventual feasibility study?
I'm not quite sure at the moment. It may be for the eventual feasibility study, or depending on how we're going with results, and to give some good news for the market. I mean, we'll have to take that as it comes.
Okay, so obviously January 2022. So what's the work plan for the remainder of this year at San Mateus?
Moving right into sort of the feasibility and simultaneously doing the environmental impact assessment study, which is obviously the second requirement here in Colombia, the second permit we need to build and construct the mine. So I'd like to be sort of kicking off all of that and the resource drilling by March of this year. So lining up all of our sort of service providers and contractors and independent companies that we're going to be using, and starting off with the first phase of our first lot of priority drilling of that resource drilling by March this year. And so that first phase of drilling would probably be around the 20 to 25,000 meters, to see what we're getting out of there, and if we're improving the grade there and on that resource, which we all think that that's the direction this is heading.
Okay, so what sort of timescales are we looking at before running up to a feasibility study?
You mean to start the feasibility study?
Well, to start and then complete it, yeah.
Oh, sure. Okay. So as I mentioned, we'd be looking to kick everything off in March of this year. And all things going well, we should be able to complete this in 9 to 12 months. And as you're most likely aware, I mean, the requirements for the environmental impact assessment study in Colombia go above and beyond the feasibility study. So whilst we will be doing that simultaneously, we would anticipate filing the application for the EIA maybe 1 to 2 months after we complete the feasibility study. So we're sort of looking at first quarter of next year, or towards the end of the first quarter of next year, to have those studies completed if everything goes well and is on track.
Okay, and you're in a part of Colombia in Cordoba where there's already large scale mining. You're relatively close to the Cerro Matoso nickel mine. You've got
Yep.
a big copper mine. I think it's Argos owns that nearby as well. And you're in a zone where there's been historically sort of artisanal small scale mining. So what are going to be the major things to address in the EIA? What may be the major concerns with that study?
Look, I think, to date, we haven't, we've been already undertaking this study for well over a year now. So we are a ways through it. But I think really the biggest thing is going to be, our ESG commitments and ensuring that all of those communities, we have 12 communities within the area of impact. And three of those for where we are at the moment in our studies, three of those communities will need to be relocated. So it's really a combination of ensuring that they're also benefiting and growing with the advancement of the project, which is what all mining sort of sustainable projects should be doing, benefiting those communities that are around them, and also making sure that the people have access to the growth or the benefits that come from the growth of the project, such as job security and decent housing and everything that will build up in that area, such as education and infrastructure and healthcare, and all the rest of it. So, I mean, the actual studies themselves for the EIA, I mean, they happen over a long period of time. As I said, we've been doing this for over a year. We've probably got another year to go. So I don't really envisage any major issues there. But I think our biggest consideration is really the characterization and the consideration of our fellow stakeholders, I guess, and that is the communities.
Okay, the Colombian government's getting behind the copper sector. It really wants the copper sector in Colombia to develop and advance. So, is the government agencies providing a lot of support and help to help you along the road towards a eventual production?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that we've been extremely fortunate with the assistance of the Colombian government at all levels, really from a local and municipality level, from sort of local mayors, and I think that's also something really important as a company that we need to do is build relationships from the grassroots up and all the way through the levels of government, but definitely as well all the way up to the national level, talking about the ministry and the A&M. They've been extremely supportive of us. And I would say, copper is always, or for the last few years, it's definitely been an initiative of the government, but I don't feel that it's necessarily because of that. I think that we've had really great support and access to government officials, really since my arrival here in Colombia 5 years ago. And it's sort of, gradually increased with the growth and the advancement of the project.
Okay, well, that's very encouraging. Okay, finally, to sort of sum up, I guess, by the end of the year, what would you like to have achieved this year?
I would like to be advanced in negotiations with the communities so that they've got a clearer idea and a clearer picture of what's going to happen. And I would also like to be towards the end of our feasibility study and our environmental impact assessment study. And obviously, with all of that advancement in the project, that also means growth for us in the area and which would generate further employment. Training. We should have also started and be nearing completing actually the training for the people who want to work for the company. We will identify over the next month the jobs that we're going to need for the building and construction of that mine and start working with Senna in order to train them. So they're sort of our main objectives for 2022.
It's getting closer to that time where it becomes very, very real, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And exciting.
Absolutely. Well, I wish you all the best there, Sarah, and look forward to catching up with you a bit later on in the year as things progress. Cordoba Minerals trades on the TSXV under CDB and on the OTCQB under CDBMF. Thank you very much for joining us today, Sarah.
Thank you, Paul. Have a nice afternoon.